Welcome to today's webcast, in which we will be looking at Tableau and Microsoft BI. The webcast really has been inspired by the fact that many of our clients have been successfully using a combination of Microsoft and Tableau technologies for a variety of reasons. In today's webcast, we're going to look at 3 use case examples where Tableau and Microsoft can be a powerful pairing. My name is Jon Ward. I'm a principal consultant at Thorogood. I've been with Thorogood for over 14 years now, and throughout that time I've worked extensively with the Microsoft products, and in recent years have also worked a lot with Tableau. We've got quite a lot to get through today, lots of people on the call, so as I mentioned at the beginning, there won't be any time for any live questions. However, as we said, please do go ahead and ask questions via the chat panel if you have any, and I'll get back to you afterwards with answers. Alternatively, please feel free to email me at the address shown on the screen. So I'll start with a quick overview of Thorogood for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We're a specialist business intelligence and analytics consultancy. One of our key values is our customer focus. We ensure that we aren't just working with clients on technical solutions, but have a firm understanding of their business in order to ensure that we can align our business understanding with the technical possibilities to result in optimal BI solutions. We're a global company with offices in London, New York and Philadelphia, and we set up our own office in Bangalore back in 2004. All of our consultants in all of our offices are recruited and trained in the same way, such that we maximise the intersection shown here in all our consultants: business understanding, technical excellence and analytical ability, which combined with our delivery model result in high quality BI solutions. We are independent in that we don't work with any one specific technology. We do, though, partner with many key players in the BI market, and some of them are shown here in this slide. With respect to Microsoft, we've been a Gold partner for as long as I can remember, and are currently a Gold certified partner in data analytics and in intelligent systems. We meet regularly with the Microsoft product teams in Redmond to understand what they're developing while giving our feedback as a partner. We also work with Microsoft on previews of new software, and often we do this in conjunction with customers. So do let us know if there's anything you may be interested in. One of the key areas I'll highlight here that we've begun our involvement in recently is Cortana Analytics Program, and you'll hear a lot about that over the coming months, I'm sure. With regards to Tableau, we're a strategic alliance partner, and indeed we're the current Alliance Partner of the Year for the EMEA region. We're also a member of their Partner Advocacy Board, and we have a wealth of expertise in Tableau development and delivery within our company globally. So today we're going to look at Tableau integrating with Microsoft, but we also have a lot of experience of integrating Tableau with other technologies. Finally, this slide shows a selection of clients that we work with in key industries in which we focus. Many of these have been ongoing customers for 7, 8, 9, 10 years plus. Indeed, some of them have worked with us since day one of Thorogood back in 1987. So we have a lot of pride in our long-standing relationships with many of these clients. Okay, so I'll move on to the technologies we are focusing on today. The Tableau has 2 main products that we'll look at today. Tableau Desktop is a client tool that you can install on a laptop or PC, which allows an individual to easily connect to a variety of different data sources and very quickly get into exploration, analysis and visualization of large amounts of data. Tableau Server is the preferred way of using Tableau at a more enterprise level. You can publish workbooks to Tableau Server to be used through a web browser throughout your company, so nobody needs a client installation. Quick mention of the other products listed at the bottom here. The Tableau Online is a cloud-based version of Tableau Server, so that you can use Tableau Server without having to install and support it on-premise. Tableau Public is another cloud-based version of Tableau Server, but this is publicly available for anybody to use for free. So it's not something that enterprise customers would typically use, but it can be a really useful source of inspiration around what other people are doing with Tableau. Finally, Tableau Reader is another client install that you put in your laptop or PC, which is actually a free product that allows you to interact with workbooks that have been developed in Tableau Desktop. So it allows you to view other people's workbooks with some limited interaction. So again, it's another way of sharing workbooks with people, but it's not as scalable or as functional as using the Tableau Server. Microsoft have a wealth of products, and I won't endeavour to go through all of them today. These highlighted products are the key ones we'll show today as core components of traditional BI systems. I would also, though, draw your attention to a couple of others. So DataZen is a relatively recent acquisition of Microsoft that enhances their mobile capability in BI. We actually ran a webcast dedicated to this last week, so if you weren't able to make that, you should soon be able to see a recording of that webcast on our website. Power BI is another key visualization analysis tool, and a new version of this was released recently. Again, we're not going to cover this in detail today, but it is starting to show how it can compete with Tableau on some of the visualizations and self-service aspects. Again, we have had webcasts on this in the past, so you'll be able to find recordings of those on our website. And indeed, we have another webcast coming up in a few weeks, I think on the 20th of October. So feel free to register that if you have a specific interest in Power BI. So why are some companies finding Microsoft and Tableau to be a powerful pair? As I said at the beginning, I'm going to take you through 3 use case examples of where they can work together well. The first of these is for self-serving modelling and analysis. Tableau has a great reputation for enabling self-service analysis of data and has some data modelling integration capability. However, Microsoft, through Power Pivot and Power Query, enable really robust data integration and modelling capability to end users to complement the self-service capability of Tableau's front end. Secondly, we'll look at how at an enterprise level, Microsoft can give centralized data definitions with scalability and performance through its data platform, while Tableau's web server can provide secure, personalized, collaborative end-user experience. Finally, we'll look at a common reason that companies have both products. The front-end tools can provide different strengths to different end-user needs. So let's start by looking more at visualizing robust end-user models. So what do I mean by end-user modeling, and why might it be needed? Well, really, I'm talking about the need to sometimes integrate data that isn't stored in your central data warehouse. This may be because it's specialized data or local mappings for your department only, or it may be new data that hasn't yet been integrated into your central data repository or your data warehouse. Maybe there's data that you'd like to have available centrally, but will take several months before an IT project can get round to incorporating it. Or maybe you need to prove its value before the effort to integrate it centrally can be justified. I've listed here a few examples that we've seen from customers where user modelling has been required to incorporate local held data. Okay, so let's have a look at this in a demo. So I'm going to start with Tableau Desktop. So this is Tableau Desktop version 9. You'll see here you're able to connect to a number of files and servers, and indeed if I clicked on more servers, you'll see a real wealth of data sources that you can connect to. So it's a real strength of Tableau's, the number of different data sources it integrates with. In this example, I'm going to connect to Microsoft Power Pivot. So Microsoft Power Pivot is a user-based data modeling tool that's embedded within Excel. It allows you to build more robust data models for analysis. I'm going to connect here to a Power Pivot model that I've built in a local Excel file. So I'm going to be looking at data from a fictional soup company, and I can connect to a model here. So it's connect to my Excel workbook, select the model it's found, and I can now go and interact with this data from this soup company. This is Tableau's initial layout. On the left here, you can see the data elements that have been surfaced from my Power Pivot model. Hasn't actually loaded any data into Tableau at this stage. This is a live connection through to my Power Pivot model, but when I interact with the data, it will send queries back to Power Pivot at runtime. For those of you familiar with Tableau, you'll know that you can build your own model here on top of data sources, and there's still some manipulation I can do on this data that's been surfaced from Power Pivot. So for example, if I know that calendar month actually should be stored as a date rather than a string, then I can make that change to my data model and update the metadata held within this data connection. Now, I want to look at which brands are driving sales within my company. So I'm going to look at a measure called change in prior year, which will show my growth in sales. And I'm going to look at that by brand. So very quickly you can see which brands are driving sales. And I'm going to break that down further, look at it by region, and I'm going to sort that data. And again, we can quickly see which regions are driving the sales within each brand. So another key aspect of Tableau is its use of colour and size and other aspects to really enhance visualizations. So for example, here I can use my percentage change in prior year, so the percentage growth rather than the absolute growth on colour, to quickly colour code the visualization and bring out more insight that way. Tableau also allows users to enhance the data by building calculations on the data. So for example here, if I wanted to add a calculation based on my change in prior year, I could add a calculation here, or use a predefined table calculation. So in this example, I want to use running total to look at how my change in sales has grown across each region. If I want to look this more of a waterfall chart, I can choose to look at a Gantt bar and take the absolute size of the bar as the size, and very quickly I've built a waterfall chart that can be difficult to build in some other front-end technologies. But what I really would be interested in is looking at this data by my sales team. So I've recently restructured my sales organization, and I really want to see which account managers are driving this growth. But at the moment, I don't have that in my underlying model. I've only just recently formed it. I've only got this defined locally. I haven't got it in my central data store. Another thing I'm interested in is potentially looking at this in different currencies. If I look at my currency as a quick filter, you'll see that all I have is the data in pounds, in GBP. So I want to be able to bring this data in different currencies using up-to-date exchange rates. Again, I don't have that currently in my data store. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to my underlying Power Pivot model. So I'm just opening up my model, and you'll see here, this is just a blank Excel workbook, or it seems to be a blank Excel workbook, but actually if I go to my Power Pivot tab, click on Manage, and I'll click on the diagram view, then actually there's an embedded Power Pivot model I built earlier within this. And you can see here, this is the data that I was connecting to within Tableau and analysing earlier. Now, within my Excel workbook, I've actually built a mapping for my account owner. It's a very simple mapping of regions to my account manager team. If I want to incorporate that in a Power Pivot model, I can simply click on Add to Data Model. That will bring that data in, and I can tell it how that connects to the existing data set. So I can tell it to join on region. Clearly, I have to make sure my regions match the regions in the central data store. Now, the other thing I said I wanted to do was to look at currencies. So I'm going to use Power Query to do this. The Power Query is really a user-based ETL tool, so extract, transform, load, a term you may be familiar with. And Power Query is add-in to Excel that allows a user to extract data from different data sources, transform that data, and then load it into Excel and into a data model. So on this tab, the Power Query tab, you'll see I have a range of different data sources from which I can get data. I can get data from files, from databases, from Azure, from other sources, Hadoop, Exchange, Facebook, Salesforce. In this example, I'm going to get my data from a website. I know a website that stores exchange rate data. So I put that in. Power Query is going to connect and see if there's any data there on that website. If I look at this first table, I'll see, great, that's the data I sort of need. So conversions from pounds to different currencies with up-to-date exchange rates. But it's not quite in the format I need. So I can edit this. So clearly I'm not editing the actual source data. That's on a website that I have no control over. But what I can do is edit the way Excel will transform the data before it loads into Excel. For example, I can tidy this up by removing a couple of columns I don't need. And this column's not quite in the format I want, so I'm going to choose a split column function, choose a space, split that data into two columns. You'll notice on the right here, in the applied steps, that each step that's been taken has been logged. So the remove column, split column by delimiter, for example. I can rename these to something more sensible. So source currency, destination currency, and let's call this exchange rate. And again, it's logged that step of renaming columns in my transformation. If I'm happy with that, I give it a sensible name, and I can now save and load that data in. So that's loaded my data into Excel. And the key thing here to notice is that that saves that query as a workbook query. So I can go and edit that transformation if I needed to, but more importantly, at any time, I can simply click refresh, and that will rerun the load to re-extract the data, carry out the transformations and load it in to get up-to-date exchange rates. So anytime I want to do this, I don't have to go and do all that work again. I can simply click refresh, and the data will come in. I'll add this now to my data model again. So again, if I click Add to Data Model, it will bring my table into my Power Pivot data model, and I can tell it again how to join that into my data. Okay, right. So now I'll switch back to Tableau. I'm going to refresh my data source that I'd already set up in Tableau, which was connecting to that Power Pivot model. You see it now rebringing in metadata from a Power Pivot model, and now I have my account owners in my model, and it's very simple for me to just replace region with account owner, and I can now look at the data by my account owners rather than by regions. Similarly, I now have more than just GBP as my currency. So I have more options for my currency. Okay, so I've very quickly there shown you how rapidly we can explore and visualize data in Tableau, and how we can use Power Pivot to properly model data in Excel, and Power Query to integrate data from other sources in a reliable and repeatable manner. Both of these can be used by an advanced user, maybe an analyst for example, to increase what they can achieve themselves without having to call on IT. Okay, so we've just seen a more individual advanced use of Microsoft and Tableau, but now I'm going to look at how the products are more often used at an enterprise level. So we commonly see products used across large companies in this way. Microsoft providing a very scalable, performant back-end data platform, with SSIS, that's SQL Server Integration Services, providing robust data integration, and SQL Server, along with potentially the use of SQL Server analysis services and tabular models, providing enterprise-level data warehousing and performance. Tableau has its server version to provide enterprise-level reporting and analysis that is secure, collaborative, and fast. So let's have a look at Tableau Server using data from the Microsoft Data Platform. So this time, I'm going to go to a web browser to access Tableau. You can see a simple URL here to access my Tableau server site. You'll notice clearly that it has single sign-on, so it's recognised me as the person logging in, and that enables some options around personalisation, being able to do my content, my settings, my start page. More importantly, it allows security. So I defaulted to the underwriting analytics site, and we're going to look at some examples here with some underwriting insurance data. And security can be set to manage which projects and which workbooks I can see within this server. This again is version 9 of Tableau Server, and for those of you who have seen earlier versions of Tableau but maybe haven't seen version 9, this has been completely rewritten since the earlier versions. So within my server, I have different projects that I've set up, and within the projects, I'll have different workbooks that I publish to the server for people to interact with. And within each of the workbooks, there may be multiple views of data. Just draw your attention to the data sources. So here we're using SQL Server Analysis Services Tabular, which is an in-memory version of analysis services, and so gives very, very fast access to structured data. We're also using Analysis Services OLAP, which is a more traditional multi-dimensional cube that we can connect to. And we also have relational data stores in here as well. These are just data connections. We're not storing any data in Tableau Server in this example. So you see these are all flagged as live connections. So when we interact with these, we're passing queries through to our Microsoft data platform. Now, the data connections will also store information around the elements, the dimensions, the measures within those connections. So things like Analysis Services Tabular, Analysis Services OLAP will have those defined within their structures, and Tableau will simply surface those structures in Tableau. Relational databases, typically you'd want to build a data model within Tableau by joining together tables so that users don't have to understand the underlying table structure. Again, though, it's just the metadata that's stored in Tableau Server if you choose to use a live connection. So a user could, at this point, choose to interact with a data source by simply looking at a new workbook. You'll see this has loaded up a web browser version of Tableau that allows a user to interact with much of the same functionality that you find in Tableau Desktop. On the left here, you have our data model, which, as I said, was built by us joining together various tables and applying various logic to the SQL layer, but making it easier now for a user to interact with that data. And similar to Tableau Desktop, has the ability to drag and drop and use all the different attributes to build reports and dashboards and analysis. Going back to my server, one other addition in version 9 is the search capability. So if I'm a loss manager in this insurance company, I can type in loss and I can quickly see all the views and workbooks that relate to this data, that relate to loss. Oh, I'm going to have a look at the loss dashboard. Unfortunately, there's one I opened earlier. And as this loads, what we'll see I've done here is actually put together a report that actually limits the interaction a user can do. So rather than having the data model down the left here that a user can drag and drop and allowing complete interaction, we've deliberately given a more simple version, more of a sort of almost a read-only version with limited interaction, so that users who prefer to just be able to see their report and interact in a simpler way can do that. Now, as I said, there is some interaction. So as a European manager, I could click here on Europe and filter the data very simply. And one nice feature here is this Remember My Changes option. So I can keep a copy of the settings I've stored here. So if I call this the loss dashboard, that means in the future I can go back to this version of this view and it will remember the filters I've selected and default to that selection rather than having to set them every time. If I wanted to, I could, by simply clicking the icon here, make that available to all other users as well. Now, within this dashboard, I have a bar graph, a tree map, and a map below showing different data points. Again, there's some interaction here. If I want to focus on marine data, I can click on that and it will update the other charts accordingly. I've also built in a drill down path. So if I want to look at the customers behind this data, I can click on this and that will navigate to a customer analysis screen. In terms of other collaboration features, you'll see down the bottom here that with the right permissions, you can add comments to these charts and also tags. So this one, for example, is tagged as property, which means that if I am doing a search on property, that it will bring up the dashboards that are relevant, even though property is not in the title of the name. In addition, I have options to share this with people, so I can simply send them the the link to the URL for them to access this, and there are options around exporting and subscribing. So again, a very quick view of how we can provide security, personalization and collaboration analysis through Tableau Server at an enterprise level, while leveraging the power of the back end of the Microsoft Relational and OLAP capability. Finally today, let's look at some of the front-end capability across the different technologies and how Microsoft and Tableau can complement each other. When working with customers, we often really need to look at the different types of user in a business who may have very different reporting analysis needs. So to the left of this diagram, we may have the users who may just need simpler reporting, maybe dashboards, scorecards, and maybe as we move to the right, some more structured reports behind that data. As we move along the spectrum, there may be a need to have some more guided analysis and navigation, much as we saw in the last demo. And further to the right, more ad hoc analysis ability, as we've seen earlier, really allowing users to follow their thought processes and go and take them where they need to go by interacting with the data in more ad hoc manner. And to the far right, there may be a need for much more advanced analytics with data. And Microsoft have a range of tools that cover most of these needs. Where we often see Tableau introduced into organizations is enhancing this right-hand area with this additional visualization and analysis capability. So again, let's look at some examples of this. We're going to start with Excel. So Excel can get data from some data sources, but it integrates particularly well with SQL Server analysis services. I have an existing connection to an SSAS cube here, which I can open. And that starts up what effectively is a fairly standard pivot table in Excel. The main difference being that the fields on the right here are based on data that are stored in the SSAS cube and not stored locally here in Excel. So again, when I interact with this data, it will be firing queries back to my Microsoft data platform rather than doing anything locally within Excel. And you'll see here the different data elements that have been surfaced from my SSAS database. So for example, let's look at my total premium here. Again, this is insurance data set we're looking at. And I can look at this by the insured party and look at that over time. And you can see how quickly I can interact with the data within Excel. Some more recent features, I guess, are the idea of associative slicers within Excel. So if I want to look at this data by insurance broker, I could add it as a standard pivot table filter or add it to my row or columns. But in this example, I'm going to add it as a slicer. I will do the same with underwriter. And you'll see here now that I can filter this data by simply clicking the button of the data I'm interested in, which filters the main reports. But the associative element of this is that it also highlights which underwriters are related to this data via this insurance broker. Similarly, I can highlight an underwriter and see which insurance brokers are relevant to this data. Another specialized slicer is the timeline. So if you have data that is recognized as time data, then I can add that in as a timeline slicer. Let's look at this by years. Oops, and I can now simply use my slicer to interact and limit the data. Other standard pivot table and Excel functionality exists when interacting with data from an SSAS cube, so I can sort the data. And if I wanted to add some conditional formatting, I could do that very simply. So for example, let's add some data bars here to have a bit of visualization of the data we're showing. I should have mentioned at the beginning, this is Excel 2013. Some of this functionality is available in earlier versions, but most of what I'm showing today is Excel 2013. Certainly Power Query that I showed earlier is. If I want to insert a Spark line to have a look at the trend of this data, I can do that. And you'll see now I've got a little graphic that shows the trend over time for each of these insured parties. So that's pretty powerful, pretty easy for a user to get going and interact with data in a traditional Excel format. But there are limits to what you can do in terms of visualizations and insights with this. So let's have a look at what we can do with Tableau on the same data. So I'm back again now in Tableau Desktop, and this is connected to exactly the same SSAS cube. I have my same data down the left here. So again, let's look at total premium. Let's look at that by insured. And you'll see that Tableau defaults typically to a visual view of the data as opposed to a more numeric version. This Show Me bar in Tableau suggests visualizations that are suited to the data and may well help bring out further insights. So, for example here, I can choose to look at this as a tree map and show by size easy visualization of the data. I can look at that by other aspects, simply swapping things, so look at the broker, or maybe in this example I'll look at the different product groups. If I want to look by more than one attribute, I can bring in my insurance broker, for example, into rows. Let me just fit this to the width. And let's sort that as well. And now we have the tree map broken down by product group, but also split by different insurance brokers. As I said earlier, colour is a key thing to use in Tableau. So, for example, I could bring my category onto colour and really highlight how the data fits into the different product categories. In fact, I can click on my legend to have a look at exactly how that splits. I'm going to switch now to a Tableau dashboard that I've created earlier. This top left visualization is the one I just created very quickly there. But we also have a couple of other tables of data and a bullet chart in the top right. Along the bottom, I've put my insurance brokers and the size showing the size of premium. I can use that as navigation as well, so if I want to look at a particular broker, I can click on that and update all the charts accordingly. One other thing I've added here is an action, which allows me to go and look at a contact card for this particular broker. So this is the card in question. So this is a much more formatted report, table of data, a logo, a photo, maybe something I want to print off, more of a structured report than I want to print off, take with me, maybe if I'm meeting with a broker. And what you may notice here is we've actually moved out of Tableau. We're now back into a Microsoft toolset. So Microsoft Reporting Services is very good at these sort of pixel-perfect structured reports that are maybe more difficult to do in your more analysis tools like Tableau and Excel. And the nice thing I'll be able to do here is to link the two. So from Tableau, by clicking on Chris Norred, it's taken across that as into this report and defaulted to that view, while still allowing me to look at other people if I need to. Okay, so there's a few different examples where some of the front-end tools have different strengths for different use cases. So one more thing I wanted to show before we finish today was the integration of Tableau with Microsoft SharePoint. So far, when we've looked at Tableau server reports, we've done that by connecting to a Tableau server URL in a browser. But there's often a need to surface Tableau reports through maybe a company portal, or in SharePoint, or maybe in Salesforce or something. So today, I'm going to show you how we can integrate Tableau into SharePoint. So here's an example of a SharePoint page I built. It has the SharePoint navigation, title, and logo. And on the right here, we've got some SharePoint components. We've got a notice board where you can add commentary and post commentary. We saw earlier there is commentary functionality within Tableau Server, but this is a more advanced version of that within SharePoint. There's also a document library for documents that are relevant to the data I'm showing. And in the middle, I've got my Tableau chart surfaced through a SharePoint web part. Now this is all out of the box and relatively simple to set up. It also still allows me interaction with the Tableau report, so I could sort this data, for example, or I could drill into the data in more detail. So it allows me to interact with the data, and you see some of the other Tableau functions we looked at earlier available in this chart. And really, when setting this up, you can choose which elements you surface and which you don't through SharePoint. So the power of this really is to be able to bring your Tableau reporting alongside other elements that are relevant and integrate it into your main SharePoint page without having to navigate to different places all the time. For a more advanced method of integration, I'll look at how we can use the Tableau JavaScript API. So since about version 8, Tableau have exposed their API, which allows you to interact with Tableau reports programmatically. This allows us to do even more advanced functionality within SharePoint and Tableau, although it does require custom coding, and so it's not as easy to set up. So here's another example of a SharePoint page I've built. Now, Tableau report is in the middle again, and often with the Tableau reports, we would want to bring in a lot of filters so people can interact with that data. But in this example, I really want to maximize my screen space. So I've built a custom web part here that allows me to define my filters via this sort of fly-in, fly-out application. So maximizing the screen space when I want to and interacting with filters when I need to. Now this is a custom-coded SharePoint web part. And I've built functionality such as a timeline slicer. I can pick different regions, customers. You'll notice nothing's actually updating as I select these because I've deliberately put in functionality whereby we want to pick all the selections before we click apply, so we're not constantly refreshing the Tableau workbook. One other thing I've added in here is in my products, I've actually added a tree view hierarchy. Now on a relational data source in Tableau, it's very difficult to build a filter that has a drill down hierarchy in this way. So this allows me to enhance what you can get out of the box in Tableau by building this type of filter functionality. So having made my selection, I can click apply, and it will now go away and programmatically pass those details into the Tableau reports via the API and update that workbook. And we see the workbook updated. And I can close my panel and see this on the full screen again. I can still interact with the data within Tableau as well, so I've got filters in here that I can interact with if I'd like to. So as I said, the key thing to understand about this is that it is custom coded. This box here is all SharePoint custom coded, and it's very powerful and enables you to have a lot of enhanced functionality, but it has all the normal overhead of custom coding around extra development effort, extra effort to support. So consideration needs to be given whether this is the right thing for you, or whether if you want to integrate Tableau and SharePoint, whether you're better off having the standard out-of-the-box functionality. So, as well as seeing how the front-end tools can provide capability for different types of user, we've also seen here how we can integrate Tableau into SharePoint, either out of the box through a web part, or in a more advanced way by using custom coding within SharePoint to interact with the Tableau API. So, in conclusion, we've shown today why many companies are finding Microsoft and Tableau to be a powerful pair. We showed self-service modeling and analysis by using Tableau for its rapid self-service analysis of data, while Microsoft, through Power Pivot and Power Query, enables really robust data integration and modeling capability available to end users. We've looked at how, at an enterprise level, Microsoft can give centralized data definitions with scalability and performance through its data platform, while Tableau's web server can provide secure, personalized, collaborative end-user experience. And finally, we've seen how the front-end tools can provide different strengths to different user needs, along with the integration possibilities in SharePoint. I see there have been some questions, and as I said at the start, I'll follow up on these afterwards. If you do have further interest in these technologies, or if there's any other way in which Thorogood can help you, then we're always keen to do so, and we're more than happy to have a discussion with you about your situation. So do reach out if there's anything you need help with. Thank you all for your time today. My email address is on screen here as well, so if you do have any additional questions or would like any further discussion of anything I've covered today, then please don't hesitate to email me. Thank you.